What's up, guys? This is Jacob with Rise and Land Clearing Growth. I want to make a quick video today talking about SEO, organic rankings, and dominating the local Google search and having authority in that way. In the video, I'm going to share my screen and kind of go into it. This is chapter 11 in my book about scaling land clearing companies online, and it's going to really break down SEO. SEO is kind of one of those things that a lot of people have heard of but maybe don't understand. So I break it down in depth, and then at the end of the video, I'll actually show a cool tool to get a heat map to see how your business is ranking on a map that plots exactly where you're showing up and how often and where you're ranking in terms of others. And it's a tool that I paid for, and so I show it at the end so that you can kind of see what it is. But if that's something that you wanted a heat map of your own business, I'd be more than happy to do that for you. So just send me a message or leave a comment or whatever, and I can send you a heat map of your business. But yeah, check out this video. It goes into a lot of depth on what exactly SEO is and how it works and why it's important and how that relates in the grand scheme of building your online business and reputation. All right, so jumping in here, I just opened up a Google search and I typed in land clearing near me. Now, of course, I'm running Google Ads, so this whole section is just Google Ads showing me my Google Ads. But if you were to search on your own and you're not signed into a Google Ads campaign, you're not going to see this little box right here. It will start right here. So basically, on a Google search, there is multiple different sections, and they're all different, but they all complement each other. So this first section you're seeing here is called the local service ads, or Google guaranteed. Reason they call it that is because to be in this section, you have to submit your business insurance, you have to submit your articles of organization, all of your like legal business stuff you have to submit, and you have to also have a Google business profile that's verified tied to this section. Now, the other big thing here is Google doesn't actually offer this to, like, they don't have land clearing as like a true category. You can list it as like one of your services, which is how you can end up kind of showing up here. But there are like main industries that sort of Google allows and then dominates in the Google guaranteed section, which is why, like, you see the first two dudes there are tree service, and then the rest of them are also tree service, because the closest thing to land clearing that Google has a category for these for is tree service. Now, they all have land clearing services listed in their services, which is why they're allowed to show up for this, but they all just show up as tree service. And we've tested these in the past, and in land clearing specifically, they don't provide a lot of value, and I haven't really seen anybody get a good like return on investment there. Now, the cool thing is though, is you only pay for these ads if somebody actually calls you or actually fills out a form. And then if they're not a real lead, you can dispute it and get your money back. But you're going to end up doing that a lot in my experience because of the whole tree service thing. Your profile has to be one of the services that they show up for. And so you would have to list yourself as a tree service that offers land clearing, and you'll end up getting a lot of calls for tree service. So if that's not something you offer, it can be a headache. So I wouldn't completely write it off like it's just not worth doing. But if you have the capacity to filter through that and dispute when you get something that's not what you want, that may be something to look at. Okay, sorry, that was a long point on that. But yeah, so you do Google search. The very first thing always at the top is going to be these local service ads. And then you have sponsored, which is normal Google ads, pay-per-click ads, whatever you want to call them. So this is where you pay Google to be in these spots. And it's a bidding process. So if there's 10 people in your Tri-County area and y'all are all spending $1,000 a day, and there's 1,000 searches in a month, then y'all are going to basically, as long as everyone has a good quality ad, y'all will just, if you're all spending the exact same, there's 1,000 searches, y'all are all going to get a tenth of that if there's 10 of you, right? Because it's going to be a bidding process. And so if you're spending $1,000 a month, that's $30 a day. And if the average cost per click in your area is, $5, well, then you're going to get 6 clicks. And then once your daily spend is up, then you're not going to get any more clicks. So Google Ads, the big benefit is you can be right there in one of these spots. Also at the bottom, sponsored here, one of these spots. You can be in any of those spots, no matter what, as long as you pay Google, right? So it's quick. You could turn one of these on today and be showing up today. But you'll always have to pay for that spot, and you'll always be bidding against the next guy. So say some guy in your area just decides he wants to spend $10,000 a month. Well, he is going to destroy everyone else in terms of how often and how high he shows up. Basically, whoever spends the most while the only caveat is you gotta have a good ad, but whoever spends the most with a quality ad is going to win. And so it's always a chase. If you end up with 3 or 4 companies spending more than you, then you'll end up, if you don't spend at least as much as them or more, you're going to be paying Google and not showing up very often. So it's just something to always consider. Anyways, that's the next part of the Google search, Google Ads. Then you have the Google Maps profile or Google Business profile. This is the next section that shows up, and some people call it the local map pack or the 3-pack, because on a normal Google search, 3 will always show up. So here you got the top 3. Lone Star is one of our clients. And so there's lots of factors that come into being here, but this is not a spot that you pay for. This is where we're starting to get into SEO, search engine optimization, meaning you have to optimize your website, you have to optimize your Google business profile for Google to like it and show up on the search. This is not where you can pay Google to be in these spots. And so this is where we say it's like unpaid traffic. Now, some of the confusion is like it's not necessarily free unless you do it all yourself and you know how to do it yourself, which is fine. But generally, a legit company is going to pay an agency to do SEO work for them. But you don't have to pay like the ads where it's a rat race of, if some guy's spending X amount, you need to spend X amount to be up there. All it is pretty much you versus Google in terms of giving them what they like and giving them enough of what they like. So specifically with Google Business Profile, your location, your keywords, and your activity level are going to be the winners. And so, like you can see, for example, here, this profile only has 2 reviews right now, and the other guys have less reviews, but he's showing up higher. This is purely because of activity. Google likes to see activity, and especially activity that is pointing towards your keywords. Super important. There's lots and lots more that goes into this, but I'm already kind of going long here. But Google Business Profile, when we talk about SEO, there's multiple facets of SEO, but in terms of SEO for a Google search, this is one section of its own, the Google Business Profile or the Maps profile. Another thing that is very helpful is if you have an address. Some people don't want to put their address on it because their address is their home, but your rankings will always be better if you can put the address on there and then be active with it. Part of our SEO services is posting to this profile regularly, and then we also have automated ways to do that through our software. So that's the first organic part, meaning not paid part of a Google search. So that's the first part of SEO. Now the next part is the organic rankings or the organic search. So all of these right here, Google has placed on this first page of Google because they believe that these are the most relevant websites in terms of their service offering and their keywords in this area. So to be here, this is all website work. So you need your website to be properly indexed, to be properly formatted, and to be properly loaded with the right keywords and the right level of activity. And Google likes to see people who position themselves as experts with the keywords in the area, right? So you need to be the most relevant to the keyword, the area, and a well-working site. So like if your site loads fast or it's clunky or it has a really high bounce rate, your Google is going to see that and kind of get hurt here. But one of the big things to really point out too is that Google takes 4 months currently to fully index any new site or any new work done to a site. So this is where SEO is kind of the slow game. But the cool thing is, like with the Google ad, if I stop paying this tomorrow, these will not be here. With SEO, once you get your rankings, you kind of like earn that spot. One of the good ways that this has been explained is like renting your home versus owning your home. To own a home, you have to pay money into a mortgage or a loan or just buy the home, then you own it, right? There's maintenance costs and there's upkeep you have to do, but you don't have to pay for that spot forever. Versus when you rent a home, you just constantly have to pay them. If you stop paying them, it's gone. All the other stuff's taken care of, but you have to make sure you're always paying them. That's what the sponsored spot is like. You have to always be paying, and if somebody comes in and raises the rent, if you want to keep that spot, you have to pay more. Versus with a home, you buy it, you own it, you own it. There's always going to be maintenance costs, but you have it. So that's kind of the neat thing about this spot, but it takes a lot longer. Same thing with renting and owning a home. You can just go sign up, do a rental application and sign up and you could be in a home, pretty quick. But owning a home is a longer process. More vetting has to go on, etc. That's where this comes in. And there's lots and lots of ways to do this. And there are companies out there who will tell you they could get you ranked in 30, 60, 90 days. And usually that's because they're finding loopholes in Google's system, which can work, but a lot of times Google will end up figuring that out and flagging it, and then you get taken down. and so it's usually not worth it in the long run to do something like that. So again, this is the long-term game. And the cool thing is, like, we've done SEO campaigns for 2 or 3 years, and they get more traffic to their websites and more calls or from organic search volume than from paid. So that's the benefit of doing SEO is long term, you're going to get a bigger return on that investment way long out. But that's why we usually like to pair that with ads, because while you're waiting for that SEO to gain traction for months and months, ads are getting you up on that search immediately. And then when you put the full package together, if somebody searches for land clearing or forestry mulching and you're showing up in an ad, you're showing up on the map, and you're showing up in the organic rankings here, next level, right? If they see you 3, 4 times and then you add in the extra element of we're going to retarget them on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever. So they see you 3, 4 times on this search, and then they scrolling on their phone when they get away from the computer, or they were Google searching on the phone and they flop over to start watching some videos, and then they see you. That's how you build that local authority. They're going to be like, there's no other choice except for this company. I keep seeing them. I keep seeing their reviews. I keep seeing their videos. I keep seeing their page. That's what I want to be, right? And so that's just a really good point there. Okay, looking at the rest of the part of the book here. Good point. So here's the honest truth. You could be the best land clearing operator in your state, but if someone Googles your name and nothing shows up, you're losing jobs, period. This is actually a really good point that I didn't bring up on that search. You need to own your terms, right? So there is, of course, the goal of showing up when somebody types in land clearing, forestry mulching, gravel driveway, site prep, whatever you do, right? But that's super important. But if somebody, like, if your name is Jacob's Land Clearing Solutions and they type that in because they saw your truck on the side of the road and they don't find you, that's definitely a problem, because what's going to happen? The competitors in your area are going to show up for those keywords, and they may end up calling them and thinking or wanting to have called you. So you 100% at the bare minimum need to be doing enough SEO to own your terms. These days, people don't just take your word for it, they take Google's. This is actually really true, and just almost crazy how true it is. Like, if somebody Googles something and Google's little AI has a little paragraph there, they literally will believe that. 90% of people will believe that like it's the Bible, right? And so you saying, hey, I'm the best, versus them Google searching and then seeing something that says you're the best, totally different. Super important. Our generations are just changing, and that's just the truth. So local SEO and online reputation are some of the most powerful but often ignored tools for growing your business. Even having a few Google reviews is going to be huge. And that's another thing that we use our dashboard to kind of help you get more of. So the good news, most of your competitors are ignoring this, which means if you do it right, you win, right? And I would say that the opposite of this is also true. If you're not doing it, one of your competitors is, and they're going to win. So local SEO helps your business show up when someone searches terms, land clearing near me, forestry mulching, site prep, Google Maps, local search results, and top 3 listings. When you combine that with great reviews, content, and retargeting, like I talked about, your business becomes the obvious local choice. And in here, I just kind of go into more about everything I talked about on that page. Of course, staying active, kind of give some real world examples. The compound effect of ads plus SEO and using CRM to have activity. And your online reputation is a 24/7 salesperson. Put it to work. This is huge. Because some people ask me, like, well, should we not run ads like at 3 in the morning? And it's like, well, some people work shift work. Some people are just up doing whatever at 3 in the morning. They may see something and, you're not awake. You need to have something where people can find you 24/7. And that needs to be good. And one thing that's not talked about is, we always talk about like word of mouth, and the word of mouth is good. But bad word of mouth is like 10x more powerful than good word of mouth. So, your online presence needs to show that you are good. And if you have 1, 2 bad things out there and you don't have 100 good things to cover that up, your online reputation is going to be a 24/7 sales killer. So you need to make sure that this stuff is important, that this stuff is taken care of. Again, another thing that we kind of help you out with when we're working together. But I have lots of other resources and videos on how you can kind of do this stuff yourself too. So that's chapter 11 from the book. SEO services. Hey, real quick, I was talking about these heat maps in the video, and I wanted to actually just show you one. So here's a guy we've been doing SEO for a while. This is a pretty darn big radius. Normally, we wouldn't necessarily try to cover this much area with one Google Business Profile, but this one's done really well. And so you can see what this is a representation of where his Google business profile shows up in that 3 map pack on a Google search in a given area. And so anywhere there's a 1, he's showing up number 1 in the Google business profile or Google Maps area on the Google search every time. Number 1, number 2, number 3. The reason those are green is if it's green, if you're in 1, 2, or 3, you're showing up every time because there's only 3 unless you click see more, which most people don't. And then anywhere there's yellow, he's still in the list, but you have to click see more. And so when you're in a competitive area, this is super important to see. And then you can also look at like competition and see, okay, why are they showing up in a certain area more? And so we track this while we're doing SEO services to see where people are showing up for certain keywords. So again, like I said in the video, if you wanted to see how you are ranking or have a heat map done like this, basically I pay like a yearly fee for this software, and I can do thousands of them. So if you want one, just send me a message. Thanks.